The verdict is in. Guilty on all 3 counts of murder. The murder of George Floyd by ex-police officer Derek Chauvin. Unless there is a successful appeal, Chauvin is going to spend the rest of his life in jail. President Biden weighed in immediately and said this was an example of systemic racism. I'm not so sure about that because systemic means institutionalized. Really? What about the abolitionist movement? America fought a civil war to end slavery. No, I think this is about something much deeper. And there's a spiritual context to all of this. Satan is the one who fills men's hearts with bigotry, hate, and prejudice. And sometimes that's the result of sin coming from generational curses. I've dealt with a lot of demons of what I call the curse of the slave master, with individuals demonized with these demons of slavery and hate going back through the generations that they know nothing about. Which brings us to George Floyd. He was a very troubled man. Very few people realize he had 5 previous criminal convictions. In fact, in 2009, he spent 5 years in prison for aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon. Even at the George Floyd trial, his girlfriend admitted they both used meth and opioids. When he was arrested, he resisted arrest. In fact, sitting next to him in the car was his alleged drug dealer. And then we saw what happened next. The whole world saw it. The knee in the neck, the cry for help, and then the death of George Floyd. And we've also seen those photos of the somewhat insensitive, smug, and arrogant look on the face of Derek Chauvin as Floyd struggled for life. And he too had a checkered history. His parents divorced when he was 7. He wasn't even able to make it through high school. In 19 years, there were 18 complaints lodged against him. One of them, by a woman he stopped for only going 10 miles over the speed limit, and he yanked her out of the car. He also worked at a nightclub for security, and they said he had a particular animosity toward black people and sometimes would spray them with mace. So did all of his problems abet the arrogance he had that led to the death of George Floyd? Here's what I think might have happened. Satan knew these were 2 troubled souls, and he meticulously worked behind the scenes to get them together, or he took advantage of their being together. And this unresolved anger, because of what he'd gone through in life that was down inside Chauvin, boiled over at that moment. Could it be that's what led him to kill George Floyd, unleashing a firestorm of social chaos in America? What if this was all orchestrated to a certain extent? What if that seed of racism, which was in Chauvin, came to light at this very moment in Minneapolis? But let me ask some other questions. What a different story it would be if both Derek Chauvin and George Floyd had been born-again Christians. What if they both had been through inner healing and deliverance? What if they both attended a multicultural church and they worshiped together in the Lord? It might be a very different story if they had walked together with the understanding of Acts 17:6. that God has made us of one blood of every nation to live on the face of the earth. If that had happened, perhaps "I can't breathe" wouldn't be a rallying cry for social injustice.
Your financial support and prayers make it possible for us to bring hope for the hurting and freedom to those in spiritual bondage. For the latest information regarding ministry outreaches, go to boblarson.org or call 303-980-1511.